We flipped the finger to the King of England. We stole our country from the Indians. With God on our side and guns in our hands, looking for our own. Build a nation dedicated to liberty, justice and equality. Doesn't look that way to you, it doesn't look that way to me. Sickest joke I know. Listen up man, I'll tell you who I am. Just another stupid American.
Hello and welcome to Congress of the Working Class. I'm Mike. I'm here with Johnny and Esworthy. Go ahead and say hello, guys.
Oi!
What up?
So, Esworthy, what's under your skin this week?
Politano refuses to give any information out about all the bullets or the armored vehicles or anything. 14 congressmen are now saying, why are you purchasing so many bullets? And she's saying, I don't have to tell you.
Doesn't have to.
Yeah, she does. It's called Congressional Oversight Committee.
There's one of those still?
Yeah. You know, they're ignoring the rules they're supposed to follow. Nobody has a problem with that. I don't understand.
Why should we have a problem with it? We can trust the government.
Let's see, Biden just blew $1 million in London and Paris just for hotel bills.
Wow. But is that like really true, or because I mean they made a big deal out of the fact that Obama supposedly spent like $2 trillion to go to fucking India or some shit?
Well, I don't know. According to this, these are they show the thing of the contracts, and you know that is how they do that kind of stuff. Let's see what else we got. I put up an article about how the senators are facing a lose-lose scenario in the assault weapons vote.
Yeah. And
their primary concern was whether or not to if they can get reelected next cycle,
right,
or if they'll get have like no cooperation from their fellow party people. So it's here, do the right thing or don't get elected next, or do the right thing and have your party abandon you and not get elected next term. Or go along with the party line and fuck everybody.
You talk about Maryland raising the gas tax?
Yeah. Well, at the same time, saying, oh, no, we can't raise minimum wage.
Right.
Their minimum wage is like $7.75 or $7.25. They wanted to raise it to $2.75 by 2015 to like 10-something. And they were saying, like, oh, no, that would have too much of an effect on our businesses. They couldn't handle it. Yeah. Dumb shit.
Have they done anything else about that? The Senate passed to decriminalize marijuana.
I don't think the House voted on it yet.
It won on a pretty good deal, too, 30 to 16 in the Senate.
Yeah, 30 to 16. That's kind of it. Isn't there more people in the Senate? In Maryland?
Smaller one.
No, that's right. It's the Senate and the House of Delegates.
And the Republicans are the ones saying that they need to turn it back. It's kind of funny.
What's that?
Senator Alan Kittleman, Republican, District 9, a co-sponsor on the bill, wrote an email that he sees decriminalization as the right and proper thing to do. I believe that we should focus our law enforcement resources on more serious crimes. Further, I do not believe we should be putting people in jail for possessing small amounts of marijuana.
Yeah, like tax evasion.
He's a pot smoker.
Yeah, but I mean, there's like 3 or 4 Republicans on here that are like, yeah, we need to we're not winning the war on drugs, this needs to be pulled back.
Yeah, no shit.
Now, they also want to make people nice and stoned so that way they can take over the world easier. High as we can, and then we can, easily take over the world.
Well, you see, it's all incremental steps into basically taking over society.
47,000 arrests for marijuana possession in the state of Maryland last year.
Yep. And what's the population in Maryland?
5 million, somewhere around that.
How many arrests were there total?
I have no idea.
I bet that's a good chunk of them.
I'm just guessing on the population. It's almost 6 million.
Okay.
Yeah, but it would decriminalize the possession of less than 10 grams. So that's a dime bag, right? 10 grams?
No, 10 grams is,
It's enough for 2 joints.
Dude, fuck no, that's... Dude.
That's what they're listening.
Dude,
They
trust
said
me
10
on
grams
this.
is as much for 2 joints.
I don't know what size you're
That's a load of shit. And let me tell you why. All right. An ounce is 28 grams. Okay? An eighth is 3 grams. Okay, you're talking about a quarter, over almost a third of an ounce.
Over a third of an ounce if an ounce is 28 grams.
Yeah. And it is. I know this. But specifically, I know what an ounce in grams translates to for various reasons that we're talking about. Now reverse that. So it says ounce and then is 28.345 grams. 1 ounce equals.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So it's what, a third?
It's like 3.5 grams is an eighth. 7.
How much you want to bet that if that passes, that pot dealers are going to be selling exactly 10-gram baggies?
Oh yeah, pretty much.
Well, that'll be the smart thing for them to do.
See,
Right.
The thing is that the nickel and dime bags are usually that's how much you're paying, like 5 or 10.
Right.
And that's like.
I never knew the measurements, though.
That's like that's enough for a joint. Maybe not the nickel. Nickel's maybe a bowl.
The dime bags I usually get were pretty fat, so.
Well, were you paying $10 for like shit feed? Yeah, swag.
It got me high.
Or what do they call it? The shit you have at the bottom of the bag. Shake.
Sometimes, but the dealer, I knew the dealer pretty well, so he usually hooked us up pretty good.
The California stuff that I got was a little more expensive than that. It was.
You couldn't get bad shit.
Well, that's because it's all local out there, you know.
No.
I was going to suggest
What is it? Route
down, so.
No. It was Route 12, or is it 12 or 13 that goes up the East Coast?
13.
13.
13's the one with the Bay Channel.
Right. So here's the thing: is that all the transport people didn't want to go up 95, so they would come up through the Bay Bridge tunnel system, drive right up 13 into Jersey.
Right.
So they would make stops along the way and drop off stuff in Norfolk and Salisbury, and
That makes sense.
So there was never a slow supply. The only time we had I don't really ever smoke, but
sure. You never got bad shit.
No, all my friends, they didn't get bad shit, and there was only one time that I remember anybody saying anything about it being dry, and that was around that time that 18-wheeler got called on 95 with like a couple 100 pounds in the back of it.
Yeah.
And like everything dried up around that point.
You don't put it on an 18-wheeler because they're subject to inspections.
No, apparently they didn't have that. Go, cat.
You put it in the back of a fucking truck or a van,
No.
And that way the smell doesn't get out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is that the NSA just announced they're going to start monitoring domestic calls on Skype and all things like that. They're expanding what they were listening to previously.
Yeah, I already thought they were listening to it. I also thought they were listening to Xbox Live conversations. And
well, they are, but they're now doing it more openly and more brazenly, which makes you wonder, like, what's going on that they're now not afraid anymore.
The fact that they don't have to be...
Because Obama's the devil, and he's going to turn the whole world over.
Obama's a pawn. Okay?
He's the devil.
No, he's the pawn.
All you get to do is go on any website that is conservative based, and he's the devil.
We're about to have a very, very serious economic crisis in this country, okay? The bond market's going to collapse, the derivative market's going to collapse, the real estate market's going to collapse again, and we're all going to be fucking, instead of just having the one whammy that we had, with the subprime mortgage loans, we're going to have a triple play whammy, and it's really going to fuck us up, and the whole world's going to go down, and they're actually, I think that's one of the reasons why they're buying up all the bullets. To be honest with you, and it's very possible that the business interests in the world will actually make a
I
go.
just sent you your new home, Swarthy.
What's that?
Just as you're talking about that.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Here's Fort Pierce Bomb Shelter, Florida's ultimate man cave. Could be yours for $499,500.
Fuck that! It's Florida.
Atomic bomb shelter for sale.
It's a bomb shelter. It was built by AT&T.
Yep, 1967.
Why does AT&T build a bomb shelter?
To ensure communications. You know that big tower on 140?
Yeah.
It didn't do anything except for act as a backup communication system in case satellites go down between Washington and New York.
I thought it was between Washington and David.
Camp David?
Yes.
It's not even in the same direction. DC and Camp David can talk direct because they're line of sight because it's up on the mountain. That's what that big. If you go up to Fort Ritchie, is what I'm talking about. If you go up to Fort Ritchie and you go up to High Rock, and if you keep going,
Penmar, yeah, yep, I know what you're talking about.
If you keep going,
I've been up there at night and got chased off by the MPs.
Yeah, well, if you keep going up that little nicely blacktop lane they have now, you come to the gate, the secure gates with the MPs. Yeah, that was a link. There's actually a facility. That mountain that's on is called Raven Rock Mountain. And there's a facility under that mountain. And believe it or not, there's actually a law. You're not supposed to take pictures of anything on that mountain. The reason I know that is because the Raven Rock facility is part of the NMCC network, which is the National Military Communications Center. The primary's in the Pentagon, and that's a backup location. A lot of people call it the underground Pentagon. It's really interesting. If you look up Raven Rock Mountain or Site R, it's really, there was this one place I found that actually, there's a real good read on it, actually, people that helped build it and everything. I'm talking about it, and really cool, actually, to know about that. Supposedly, there's an underground transportation system between there and Washington, but nobody can confirm that it was actually built, like a train tunnel underground.
Yeah, my understanding was that there was actually underground tunnels all the way from the White House on up.
Well, yeah, that was the thing, but nobody can prove it. I mean, I've been to Site R because when I was younger, my brother-in-law worked for Carroll County Foods, which is PFG now, and we delivered some food up there. And basically, you go up to Fort Ritchie, and you go up this little road near Fort Ritchie, and you come to this gate, and you have the guard there at the gate, and then you go through the gate, and you stop there, and they bring out this little, like, electric truck thing, and you'll unload everything, and it's like, it almost looks like, you know how they depict, like, pictures of NORAD and shit? But it instead of, like, going to the side of the mountain, it's like a downslope. It's kind of neat. And it says, like, you're on a U.S. military reservation, no photography prohibited, and subject to search and deadly force and all this other shit. But we were supposed to be there, so, it was kind of cool. I used to ride along with him on his food deliveries just to do something. When I was like 17 and didn't have a job, but I wasn't in high school anymore.
They wouldn't let the extra person in now.
They'd let you in. It's just that, you probably have to wait at the gate, and they'll come out and, Supposedly that facility was, they were talking about decommissioning it because they decommissioned Fort Ritchie, but And that was like home to like the 76th Signal Battalion or something like that.
Is that why they have that whole like man-made water facility right there? Was that for the mountain?
Yeah, supposedly.
Okay.
That was it actually feeds an underground cistern out of that. They did that for the base and the town, you know. But in the emergency, they shut that down, and it's all been in the cistern, you know. But supposedly they have like 2 years worth of supplies for the 76th Signals Battalion up there. Plus, it's also a alternate command post for various things.
So anyway, I didn't get the chance to tell you about this, Swarthy, but I told Mike about it.
Okay.
So my aunt, right, lives in Baltimore City, 2 blocks from the edge of Baltimore City, but she's in the city, right? 2-3 Fridays ago, her house gets broken into. She paid $2,500 for ADT. She pays $500 a year for maintenance on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The policy in Baltimore City, I didn't know this, they have an extra layer of bureaucracy. And what happens is ADT is not allowed to directly call the police in Baltimore City. They are required to call this agency of the city that has to look up the permit and find out whether or not you've paid your $20 permit fee. And if you haven't paid your $20 permit fee, they do not send the police, even though your alarm's going off.
Permit for what?
To have an alarm. Everybody in Baltimore City pays $20 a year to have the alarm.
Wouldn't you think the ADT would take care of that?
No, it's up to the individual homeowner.
Well, then she ought to get a firearm. Because obviously, the police ain't going to be there.
Right. So they let somebody rob her house and didn't send the police.
I would have her sue the city.
So the alarm went off and whatever. My mom's the extra person that they call. So she gets home and there's a message from ADT saying, the alarm went off. The police were not dispatched because of the permit. So, they only stole 2 laptops. They didn't get much because the alarm was going off. There was a dog, all that fun stuff.
Oh, I thought loud noises and dogs were supposed to be the solution for break-ins.
Right. And
they would stop once they hear that.
Right. So on top of that, they get home, find out their house has been broken into. They call the police. And apparently this agency told ADT that her permit was expired. She has the receipt for her permit. She paid for it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
And it's not like a yearly thing or something?
It's a yearly thing, but she has her receipt for 2013.
Well, then she better get a lawyer.
They screwed up the paperwork and let somebody rob her house without sending the police.
I would definitely have her sue the shit out of the city.
Well, what gets me is, what if you're home and you have the alarm set, somebody breaks into your house, you're getting killed, but they don't send the police because of a permit? Like, I don't understand why that bureaucracy exists. It's completely pointless.
I agree, it's completely
for the money
pointless.
grab.
And that just further goes towards saying that you need to defend yourself.
Right, but that's not even the point I'm getting at. I don't get why that piece of why does that piece of bureaucracy even exist, other than a money grab? And I bet you if you look into it, the money they make off of it probably isn't even enough to cover the facility and the people that are doing it.
We think about Maryland is a state notorious for permits and money grabs and everything else.
Right.
Freedom with their permission, and then they just forget about giving you permission.
So she contacted her city councilman, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to try to get him to do something about it. She's trying to fight with him about it because they still haven't fixed the permit problem. And the police are saying, well, they saw all the nice stuff in your house because my uncle does recording and stuff. So he's got like $100,000 worth of audio recording equipment in his house, recorded music and stuff.
Right.
And the cops basically told them straight up, these guys are going to be back because they've seen all your stuff now, and they're going to come back with a truck. So they've been told that the guys are going to come back, but they haven't fixed the permit problem yet. So even if they get broken into again, they're still not going to call the police.
Well, then, like I said, get them a shotgun.
Why? So that can get stolen too? I mean, it's happening during the day when they're not home.
Oh, well, apparently, I guess the dog didn't work and the alarm didn't work. They need to get Gelfman. You know,
They need to get a lawyer. I mean, she wanted to go to the
a
media.
lawyer, and the fucking press.
Yeah, she doesn't want to do the media thing because she doesn't want to have to do interviews. But
Well, unfortunately, sometimes it's the only way for it to happen.
right, and that's the messed up thing. She contacted the city councilman about it, and he actually told her that there's another guy who hasn't this permit fee in a couple of years, and apparently they consider it part of like your taxes. So they're actually trying to take his house for not paying like $60 worth of permit fees.
Yep. Welcome to Maryland.
The fucked up thing is he doesn't have an alarm.
Welcome to Maryland.
So, they're trying to take this guy's house. He's got to get a lawyer to try to keep his house from the city for not paying a permit for something that he doesn't even have.
You see, this is why I don't live in Baltimore City. It is so regressive. People call it progressive, but it is so like anti common sense that it's not worth putting up with all that bullshit.
Right.
To be closer to a fucking 7-Eleven.
I like living in cities, and it bothers the shit out of me. But I don't know what else you do.
Get the fuck out of the city. Vote with your feet. Apparently the city's wonderful bureaucracy that they've created has failed several people that I mean, obviously, and that's only probably the tip of the iceberg. It's probably failed thousands of people. I mean, I've read how people's houses are getting basically repossessed, even though they've completely paid their mortgage because they didn't pay like $3 in taxes in 1984. Or the people that owned it before that didn't pay $4 worth of taxes in 1984. And that's why half of like all the brownstones and everything are boarded up in certain parts of town because of shit like that.
Right.
And then the banks and development committees are like buying them up and they're building like Lexington markets and things like that, and they're making money off of that. I mean, it's a racket. It's a pure racket, and that's
right.
the way Baltimore politics has always been.
Well, yeah, and the messed up thing with Baltimore and how it's been before is one of the problems in Baltimore is one of the only two cities in the country that are independent from the county that they're in.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not part of Baltimore County. They're an independent entity. They're not really a county. They're a city, but they're independent from Baltimore County.
Right. And I think was San Francisco and New York, I think, are the only other ones I can think of. Because like L.A., they have their county police force that patrols them. Miami's got Miami-Dade. Yeah, I know what you mean. And the thing is, that's what a lot of these places like that. I mean, just look what happens in these places. Why would anybody want to live there? The messed up thing is, who's been running most of these cities? Since forever.
Yeah, but it's not a city phenomenon. You get the same stupidity everywhere. So yes, it's the Democrats that run the city, and I've heard that argument a couple times. But it's just as stupid.
Well, it has some merit.
Well, no, but it's just. Well, hear me out. It's just as stupid as when the fire department goes out and watches a house burn because somebody didn't pay, or they think somebody didn't pay a $40 fire permit in the rural areas. So it's the same exact stupidity. So it doesn't just happen in Democratic areas; it happens in Republican areas too. The main point of the government is to defend us. They should be providing police, fire, and medical and school systems. Those are the main functions. So if they're not providing police, like in Detroit, they're not providing fire, as in some of the rural counties, where they're literally letting people's houses burn to the ground because they didn't pay up front for fire coverage for that year. But they'll go sit there and watch just to make sure the house next door doesn't catch fire. Mm-hmm. Those are essential things the government should be doing. So when they're not doing those, something is royally fucked up on all sides.
What's your recourse for that then? I mean, you think that's endemic of the system as a whole, or what the system's become? Basically it's like if you don't pay your money, you don't get the benefits.
But you are paying your money. Where the fuck are your taxes going if they're not going to cover the essentials?
Well, apparently
That's
they're
the
not.
problem. I mean, we all know that they're wasting them, but I mean, that is why you pay fucking taxes. So why are you paying taxes to have fire coverage, to turn around and have to pay money up front to have fire coverage?
My understanding was that came out of property taxes for both police and fire and other, critical, like services.
Well, that's the problem. Is if you go back, that you weren't supposed to pay income tax. Income tax was only supposed to be during wartime. Mm-hmm. You were supposed to have the taxes were supposed to be associated with the things that they dealt with. Your gas tax went towards the roads. That way, if you needed more roads, you raised the gas tax. Mm-hmm. If your property tax should cover schools, police, fire, ambulance. Those things should be covered by your property taxes.
Yeah, but you know what? I've said this time and time again. Whenever the government sinks its teeth into something and gets a tit suck on, as far as money is concerned, they never let go. Ever. They will find a way to keep having that money coming in just so they don't have to reduce their budgets. Without fail.
Yeah, and they will. But somebody somewhere, even if it just starts as like a grassroots or a part of a community or a county system somewhere, a group of people need to get together, take the thing over, get everybody thrown out, get new people put in that all have the same ideals, the same base idea, say fuck all the bullshit, when you got a county.
And they'd all end up...
Government people really need to argue over abortion issues and things like that. They should step away from all that and say, look, no Republican, no Democrat on this. We're not debating these issues because they have nothing to do with county government. We're here to change how this county runs the government. We're going to step back and simplify things, make things relate to what they want. If you don't want to drive that much, then your money won't go towards roads or, go towards, you won't have to pay as much gas tax. If you want to,
But what about if the electric cars come in? Then it's like a per mileage fee they're talking about now.
Yeah, that's insane. But
you got to get it involves tracking your movements pretty much.
If you want people to move into the cities, which is honestly for overall is a better thing, is to have people live close to where they work, then salaries need to match where they live.
Yeah, but
I understand how many somebody that makes a minimum wage lives in New York City. How the fuck does that work?
They're homeless.
Or
they live in one of the outlying districts like Brooklyn or Queens or Harlem.
Right. You really can't live in a nice place in Baltimore City and work in Baltimore City.
I totally agree. And the thing is, there's a psychological factor, though, that when you cram so many people together, tempers are going to be hotter, people are going to fight more, and things like that. That's just a human nature thing. When you cram that many people together at all times.
But,
so that's why one of the things that, like, rural living is like, that's one of the things about rural living as far as one of the benefits. It's like you don't have people in your face all the time.
Well, we're going to have to learn how to deal with that, though, because we refuse to do anything about population control. So we're gonna end up with, we've, almost 6 million people in Maryland alone, and it's not a big state. We're gonna run out of rural eventually.
Well, the population's gonna take care of itself, because let me tell you why. And it's done this throughout all history. Whenever we were overpopulated, something's come around somehow to depopulate.
Black Plague in Europe, and
Black Plague wars.
Something's gonna hit us.
Gang fights, whatever. And if you notice, when you overpopulate an area such as Baltimore, you have increased violence. You have people dying of urban diseases.
Well, you say war, but the interesting thing is, if you look at the last,
conflict.
Look at everything, right? Well, now, we lost, how many soldiers in Iraq? It was less than 4,000, right? At least U.S.
Well, that's because we've pretty much automated warfare. It's not
that's what I'm saying. So war is not going to help us unless somebody attacks us.
Well, the only place that war really affects is the place where it occurs. Right. Iraq lost, 5% of its population through our weapons. I
Yes.
mean, you know,
No.
that's
Yeah, it's
incredible.
not confirmed, but over 100,000 people probably.
Oh, it was more than that. It was a lot more than that.
Right.
Talking about 1 million or so. I mean, it was a lot of people that got killed in the Iraq War, in both of them. It was a significant number.
But when you got people living that close, there's going to be problems. And when you got, when you can't keep the peace because you've got people the police wasting their time on stupid shit, you're going to have a problem.
Well, the politicians have made the police waste time on stupid shit by making every possible activity in human existence somehow illegal or regulated.
Right.
You know, I mean, if the laws made sense, we would have few less problems. I mean, we got people that the police are being called because somebody put up a picture of a kid holding a kid whose father got him a .22 caliber rifle for his birthday, holding the gun and being happy. The kid they raided his house with like a SWAT team and Child Protective Services. That's bullshit. That's stupid. You know?
I heard they went to check on the welfare, and they asked him if they'd come in. He said no, and they left. So I don't know how much that story got blown up, but
there were a lot of. There weren't just one cop though. I mean, it was a large group of police officers, and and he wouldn't. And yeah, he did refuse any kind of a search without a warrant. He said, "Well, we'll just come back with a warrant." He said, "Bring it," and he stood up for his rights.
And he's welcome to do that. At the same time, I understand if you're talking about, somebody, they're rolling up to a house where there's an assumed assault weapon, and I know assault weapon's a stupid thing, but that's what they're thinking is the assault, they're rolling up something that might have a weapon there. They're going to roll with more than one guy. That makes sense.
But they didn't know what kind of a gun it was because they never saw the picture of the gun.
Right, but for safety's sake, if you know you're rolling up on somebody with a gun, you're going to take more than one guy.
But it was a picture of the kid. It was like months after the kids got the gun and got the picture taken.
Right.
It was just somebody getting
I get you. It was stupid for somebody to call child services for that or the police for that. That part I get. But I'm just saying, as far as the police rolling over multiple people, I would do the same thing as a cop. If I'm going to a site where I know there's going to be a gun or there's supposedly a gun, I'm going to roll up with more than one guy.
I would question the order itself. It's like, what makes you think I need to intervene in this family's affairs?
Yeah.
They own a gun. There's nothing wrong with owning a gun. There's nothing wrong with educating your children on how to handle guns. What's the problem? Did the kid shoot somebody? Did he threaten to shoot somebody?
Right.
Oh, okay. Well, get better evidence.
No, I get you. No, I get you. But, unfortunately they're kind of stuck following orders, but,
Well, yeah, but the thing is, it's that mindless following of orders which is screwing it. And we're starting to see a backlash in some law enforcement agencies. They just said they're straight up not going to do it anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing. That, they're actually thinking above what the politicians tell them to do, because what the politicians tell them to do is retarded sometimes by what laws that's created. And,
Well, speaking of stupid laws, kicking over to Maryland, they got the whole thing going on with the medical marijuana, so that, that should definitely be interesting.
Yeah, but then we'll still have the feds coming in here and trampling us.
That's true. But you know what? There's only so many states that can pass laws like that before the federal government is going to have to do something.
Yeah, basically say, okay, all the laws in the states, doesn't matter. We have absolute jurisdiction, which they've done before.
I don't know. I would hope that logic would pop through with, it's got, 35 states that have legalized or decriminalized it. I just
listen to what you just said. Logic, government.
I mean, I just hope that, there's at least one person in the government that's not an idiot. I don't know.
Oh, no, they individually, they're very, very smart people, but as a group with social morphology and social interactions, they're retarded. It's like they devolve inside the Beltway. It's sad.
Yeah.
No, the one thing I do want to touch on was you guys were talking about the cops getting called when they parent with a gun. There's a story I posted the other day along the same lines. A worker at Walmart wound up calling the police. Well, wound up reporting it to the their management, and the management wound up calling the police, and this family's 3 girls wound up getting it taken away from them because they had pictures of them in the bathtub.
Oh yeah.
And to me, it's like, why doesn't anybody just take that moment to think?
They don't. They're mindless government drones at this point.
Wait, I'm sorry. What? They had pictures of them like little kids?
Yeah, they were like, they were like in the bathtub or like after the bath, like they had towels and they were like hugging each other and they thought they were cute, so they took pictures. And then they wound up taking pictures to Walmart to get them developed. And the worker saw them and immediately thought child porn.
Wow.
Yep.
And then Human Services and Child Protective Services came in and took the kids away from them for a couple months while they investigated everything. And now they're fighting with Walmart because Walmart's like, well, we had to follow the policy. And it's one thing, if a parent comes in and is posing with their child, whatever the case may be, if they're, if the parent is not doing anything sexual to the child, I don't see how that could be considered pornography, first and foremost. I mean, because, I have pictures of, my one daughter, we had an outdoor toilet when we were at one of the quarries swimming. And, she's sitting on this little toilet, and it's nothing but, a toilet seat on, brackets, so you can sit down to pee, And my daughter's sitting down to pee. We wound up taking a picture of that because we thought it was funny and cute.
You sick fuck.
Right, exactly. And that's exactly where my problem comes with this, because it's like...
I think it's just people need to get out of each other's business. But, that's what you get when you cram people together so much.
Well, the problem is that we're not crammed together out here.
Right.
I guarantee you, if somebody went through looking through that, or if I went into Walmart and put it up, who knows what they would have fucking done. Because everybody is so hypersensitive about sexuality in this country.
Not just sexuality.
Well, that's the bigger thing. You can easier get away with beating the shit out of somebody on TV or showing them get shot. But fuck if you show a nipple.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's
God forbid if you show a kid taking a bath.
Right, exactly.
Dude, I know I have pictures of me when I was a child taking baths. Because parents take pictures of their kids when they're cute and playing with bubbles and shit. Right.
I'm playing my favorite rubber ducky or, whatever, and it was wonderful, it was adorable, their hair was funny or whatever,
Well, I guess you're not allowed to be around your child if your child is naked. Because you're not in a position of trust.
Well, they automatically assume everything is sexual. It's just like the gay marriage debate, They automatically assume it's all about, homosex is bad. The point's been proven time and time again is when you get married is when sex tends to drop off, so...
Well, I don't know, man. I mean, you're pretty sick, and I think all that gay sex is what you got some kind of disease.
Anyway. High five. But yeah,
don't touch me.
Those things, though, it just doesn't, to me, it completely boggles my mind, I mean, the gun thing, it's so funny that people get so outraged over the gun thing, because if you look at 90% of the television shows that we watch,
there's a gun.
They involve a gun. You would think that we would be more generally accepting of that, But it tends to be we're fighting against that and sexuality while we will push one off and allow one to be in the mainstream.
I think a lot of it's the media just stirs up so much hype just for hype's sake, And people get caught up in that, and they think that's the way the world is supposed to work, and it's not.
I don't know. People think it's strange when I say I'd rather my children watch a partial sex scene, like in a movie where it doesn't actually show nudity. But nudity doesn't really bother me anyway. But I would rather watch that than watch a zombie get curbed on The Walking Dead. I mean, just because of the level of violence to it. I mean,
Right.
I mean, but then I would be considered a bad parent because I'm showing my children essentially pornography.
It's going to suck when they eventually kill off Grant. Or Glenn.
Glenn, yeah. Well, not to go too far into it, but you think about what's supposed to happen. Okay, think about what's supposed to happen to Michonne in that show. They're not going to let that be shown on TV, but to me, I'm like, you know what? that's reality. I mean, you think about what happened. I'm sure you guys heard about the Ohio football player, girl.
The whole.
Yeah, I mean, you think about that, you're going to wind up, you people don't even want to talk about that scenario because they don't want to talk about, having to worry about, having to explain that stuff to their kids.
Right.
I mean, but to me, it's an important part of our world because it's very, it's that puritanical sexual thing that has stopped. I think has caused a lot of those problems. I mean, I'm not necessarily blaming religion for our sexual issues, but I mean, it's where a lot of it stems from. And the fact that we're not an open place about sexuality, I think it raises that stuff up. I mean, luckily, thankfully, they were stupid enough to put it all over the internet.
Right.
So, I mean, I wound up busting their ass because that doesn't generally happen, but
I don't know. I just think we need to get out of each other's asses and worry about our own shit for a while.
Yeah, and that's true. And the government needs to learn that. They need to learn that hardcore. Because like what Johnny was saying earlier about, them taking care of fire, police, school, and stuff like that. Those are things that the government should be taking care of. They shouldn't be worrying about who's marrying who. They shouldn't be worrying about what to do with your penis or your vagina. They should be worried about, whether or not somebody ingests something.
Fuck, you wanna make money? Like, let the fucking, legalize pot, fucking tax the shit out of it. Let gay people get married and pay for marriage licenses. You're gonna spend money in churches, spend money on weddings. It's all good for the economy. Who gives a fuck? Like, it just doesn't make any goddamn sense.
Well, it does if you get people up each other's asses. That's what they do. I mean, that's...
The other thing is they don't want the economy to go good. They've said that from the get-go of Obama walking into office. They wanted the economy to fall. The Republicans said that time and time again.
Right.
So they don't want that shit to happen. They don't want the economy to get better. They hate seeing the job numbers come out. They hate that the Dow is going up. And it's because it's making Obama look good. Not that I'm a fan of Obama because he's done a lot of stupid fuck-up shit. But they are so wound up about trying to make sure shit fails that they won't let shit that's really important succeed.
What's messed up is I don't, I really don't agree with Obama on a lot of things. Like, I really don't think he's that great of a president. But to be honest with you, I almost feel like I have to defend him because I'm sick of the racist bullshit. I'm tired of going on sites that are supposed to be talking about politics and things, and 90% of them start off with that monkey or that N-word or whatever. Stop with the fuck. Nobody's going to take you seriously if you start your conversation off with a racial slur. Like, it's, and they uneducated bullshit. Like, I was looking at something the other day, and they were talking about the budget and, whatever, and it's like, stop doing the Final Four thing and submit the budget. I'm like, well, okay, that's fine. But the people were trying to say he hadn't. He has. It's a terrible budget. Admittedly, an awful, god-awful piece of shit budget.
What budget?
Didn't he submit a budget this year?
He did. So did the Progressive Caucus, and so did the...
Right.
Okay,
so he submitted it. People were saying he needed to get off his ass and do the budget. Like, he already turned it in. It was terrible, but he already turned it in. Stop being a dumbass. Stop calling him a monkey. And people will take you seriously. But all you want to do is get on here and be angry and racist, and you don't want to actually pay attention to what's going on.
Because it's an easy thing. It's a sound bite. It's another simplicity thing. They don't want to criticize him for the things he's actually doing wrong.
I mean,
want to take time to learn what he's doing wrong.
You're already on the fucking internet. Learn how to use fucking Google.
Right?
For God's sake, like, it's not that hard. There's a little bar in the corner. You just type shit into it, and it gives you the answer.
Yeah, but it's like slanted answer.
Well, the problem is that
you can find out whether or not he submitted one.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, it's that something like that is simple. Yes, there's a lot of opinionated shit.
True. That's not true because some people have said, the media is not necessarily discussing the fact that he did. They're focused on the Republican one because it's a great talking point.
Well, they like to pick on the Republicans more anyway, as a matter
of the Progressive one that came out. They're not talking about the president's one that came out. They're talking about the Republican.
Right.
You know, so
Which isn't going to pass either and sucks in my left nut. So it's not going to fucking work.
the best one is the progressive one. And there's still some flaws in that, seriously. But it's way better than the Republican one or Obama's.
Well, the Republican ones keep wanting to cut my fucking education funding. I don't understand why the fuck FAFSA, why do you want to cut FAFSA? Why is that like the Holocaust? You know, they compare it to the Holocaust to have FAFSA when I'm borrowing money from the government and I'm paying it back. I can't claim bankruptcy on it. I have to pay it back. It's a student loan. Yes, it's sponsored by the federal government. I pay it back with interest, and I'm not allowed to claim bankruptcy and not pay it back. Why?
It's almost like guaranteed money for them.
Yes.
Right. So why cut a program like that, but we still have faith-based initiatives? Is there, you know, of all the stuff, you know, and I'm sure we've talked about this before, but to take my tax dollars and give them to a church, how is that not a fucking violation of the Constitution?
You really hate that thing, don't you?
It is the worst fucking idea in the world to take my tax dollars and turn around and give them to a church that I don't agree with. And, you know, yes, I understand that churches do good things. I'm not arguing that fact.
But the government shouldn't be involved in them.
To push, they'll give people food, but they'll push their religion in the same process. I have a problem with that.
It's like homeless shelters that are run by religious institutions. You know, they'll let you stay there as long as you sit and listen to them blow on about Jesus Christ and stuff. Yeah.
But you know what? If they're funding that themselves, and people are willing to do that, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, but they're getting subsidies for it.
Right. They shouldn't be getting subsidies, and they shouldn't be getting tax dollars. Yeah, no tax dollars for that.
I personally think that they should turn around and they should take away the interest. You know how they have the interest rates on the student loans? They should get rid of that. And when companies borrow from the federal government, they should be the ones that are taxed at a higher rate because they're the ones borrowing money for nothing. And instead, the people who are actually borrowing money for an education in order to make themselves better in this country and contribute to the community through working, education, and all that stuff are wind up getting slammed with the student loans with their tax rates and not being able to claim bankruptcy on them and all this other stuff. You know, as opposed to just making it a loan with a zero interest rate so people can go get their education and not be saddled with student debt for the rest of their life, unlike a company who is constantly turning a profit and has to pay no interest rates.
Yeah, and a lot with the student loans, I mean, I've heard so many stories of how people are basically destitute because of student loans. You know, they can't find a job anymore that'll pay them, you know. Right. They're working at McDonald's paying off $100,000 college tuition.
And that's absolutely true. I
mean, at this point, I'm now probably, I don't even want to look. I don't, but at this point, I'm probably about 35,000 in college debt.
The problem,
and that's low.
The problem I see really is the fact that America as a whole needs to get this priority straight.
But it won't. It won't in time because we're not going to last that long because we're already on a cliff right now.
Right. I know we're teetering.
And I'm not talking about the bullshit sequester. I'm talking about like markets collapsing, multiple markets on a global scale. You know,
we invested in we bet on the wrong horse. I mean, that's what I think it boils down to. Instead of taking money, that could have been used to bolster some of the best education in the world, putting together a science department in NASA that could have revolutionized travel. We instead focused on private sources, and we invested in that, not in the citizen, and it wound up, getting squandered away to the Cayman Islands and a ton of other random places.
Well, private development has its place, though.
It does.
Because governments can't do things efficiently.
But the problem is that we've squandered away so much that we could have done in the public sector with education and our own space. I mean, if you think about what NASA brought to us.
Yeah, but NASA was so hip deep in the whole military industrial complex.
I understand that, but when we were traveling to the moon and we were doing all that stuff, that's where a ton of our technology came from. The internet, the microwave, all this other jet travel, all this whole...
That was tied with warfare.
And I understand that.
For the Russians.
At the same time, we were investing in our scientists. We were investing in our education system because we needed scientists to be able to work on these things that we were working on.
Well, you see, we lost that motivation because we lost the boogeyman. We lost the Soviet
Tons
Union.
of boogeymen. What are you talking about?
Well, they created new boogeymen.
Right, which we should be investing just as hard to try to do. But instead, they're turning around going, oh, well, we need to worry about fighting that guy over there, so let's cut education over here. So you have a bunch of idiots that don't know how to work the shit that they're going to put over there to fight with. You know? So, I mean, there was even a thing about the government, the military commanders were saying that the crops of young people that were coming in were just about worthless because their education was for shit.
Well, yeah, and it's the truth because we've stopped learning. We depend.
It's because they're all coming out of
technology.
minority communities, and they're all coming out of minority or poor communities.
What are you trying to say, Johnny?
I'm trying to say that our military ends up getting people that didn't get good educations because they were poor, or they use the military as a way out. It's a step up, and it is. And I've seen living in this area. Obviously, you see a lot of defense contractors, a lot of people working for the government.
True.
And there's a lot of people that have even told me they come from bad places, but they got their lives together. They got in the military. They used their GI Bill. They went to school, and they got a job with the Defense Department, and they've made something of themselves. And the military can be a step up in that sense, but
again, it's a job with the Defense Department that's bloated already.
Right.
And it sucks even more money out of society as a whole.
Right.
And we could be investing in education to begin with.
Right, exactly. We could be investigating with physicists and and architects and all these other things and environmental scientists that are trying to find better ways to where we're not.
Hey, all the environmental science stuff is made up, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, think about it, but on a more basic, fundamental level, think about it. Like, look at basically how our society is falling apart. Okay, a lot of it is nobody is proud of their country anymore. Everybody sees it. The place sucks. Why?
There's plenty of people proud of their country, but they're proud of their country for the wrong goddamn reason.
Right, exactly. That is exactly it. The Tea Party and the GOP are a real prime example of that.
Well, the Democrats are no longer liberals. Okay, they're
yeah, but that doesn't mean that's point. The faux patriotism that comes from the right is what has damaged this country. Because at least the ones
it's not that alone. That doesn't
it's also the faux let's do this for the children that come from the left, where it ends up screwing everybody.
Well, no, but
we'll drag everybody down.
What the real problem boils down to is that we won't admit that we fuck up shit.
Oh, we fuck up everything. Everybody fucks up everything.
The problem is that the American people see that we fuck up shit. The problem is it doesn't come from the top to say, hey, we fucked up here. Like weapons of mass destruction in Iraq.
Well, their shit doesn't stink the same way as
Hey, you need to stop blaming Bush. Obama needs to take responsibility for his shit. Bush's shit's in the past. You just need to let the past be the past.
Well, Obama's had every opportunity to get rid of some of Bush's policies. He's expanded upon every single one of them.
I'm not saying he hasn't. I'm just joking with about all the people that are.
I mean, you think about that. It's something so serious that it took us into a war. We killed, what did you say, 5% of the Iraqi population?
Pretty much.
They're still dealing with the violence in that country that we hear nothing about. Just the other day, there was like 10 simultaneous car bombs.
Well, I listened to, I was listening to the CPAC over the last weekend or whenever that was going on. It might have been a week, 2 weekends ago. I don't know. Everything blurs together anymore. But I was listening, and obviously I'm not a staunch conservative, but I was listening to the CPAC people, wanted to hear what they had to say. And one of the guys in the CPAC, and a couple of guys, funny enough, there was a guy from Alabama that was awesome. He was a senator out of Alabama.
Awesome because he was entertaining to watch?
No. He actually, I agreed with a lot of what he said. He seemed like a really intelligent guy. I was shocked coming from Alabama, but no,
stereotyped at all.
But one of the guys was talking about. he was trying to argue, and, I might be wrong, but I think it was Ben Carson, who obviously everybody loves, and amazing neuroscientist. But they were basically, and it might not have been him, but they blur together. But the guy was basically trying to say that we haven't had a war, that this country's never had a war that it hasn't been based on liberating someone. And started listing off World War I, World War II, and then, which I kind of get. He started getting into Vietnam and Iraq and Afghanistan, and I'm like, if you honestly think that we got into those to liberate people,
right?
You're fucking moron.
I think it was all about the petrodollar. I mean, we have soldiers in Afghanistan basically guarding poppy fields for the heroin trade. I mean...
Yeah, but that's because we've made agreement with the warlords in the area, so in order to keep the peace, we protect our poppies.
Yeah, but they're not making any of the money either.
I don't disagree. I'm just saying that's...
Yeah, you think that's right, though? Because where does that heroin end up?
No, it's not by any stretch of the imagination, right? But the problem is that's why we're doing it, and we are turning around and saying,
maybe we should take out the warlords then, huh?
No, because then that creates instability. See, there winds up being a cause for everything, and the reason why we're doing it. I mean, I'm just saying,
I have an idea. Let's stay the fuck out of everybody else's business.
Right, I agree.
What it boils down to.
On every level.
You know what? It sucks, and I'm going to sound like an ass for saying this, but at some point, people that want to be liberated need to stand the fuck up for themselves.
Yeah.
Exactly, and that's what it boils down to.
And
I mean, it's
going to end up like that here.
People will get sick of the oppression and stand up, and yeah, we need to do it here too. I mean, it's just the way the system is run is, I mean, we had the discussion about my bike, and basically, for listeners that don't know, my bicycle got stolen from a supposedly secure locker. And, the cop basically comes up, checks everything out, refuses to take prints, and just basically goes, well, I'm going to suspend it because we're probably not going to find it. And that's the end of it. It goes into a report.
No, that was the end of it. What happened the next day?
It wasn't the next day, but it was about 2 weeks later the dumbass rode by me on it. So,
and you found the bike. You found the bike.
I found the bike.
You should get all of your taxes back from last year.
I was seriously tempted to call the cop because I had the cop's number. I was tempted to call the original cop and be like, "Yeah, I found my bike." You know what I mean? And and it is what it is. But I don't think they caught the kids either because the cops took 20 minutes to show up when I found it and called them.
Of course, you'll be riding down the street, and they'll see the bike, and they'll arrest you for stealing your bike.
Yeah, they don't have a serial number for it. And the case is closed out at this point. But, it's just funny because, I mean, yes, it's one of those stupid things. I know we were talking earlier about, the cops doing stupid stuff. But to me, that's important to me, and it's theft. So, therefore, they should be. I would rather worry about that than worry about, some guy smoking a fucking joint.
Well, you see, they have the duty to care about that. But they've reneged on their
duty. It's exactly
duty.
what they get paid for.
Yeah, and they say, nah, we don't feel like it. It doesn't make us any money. Find your bike, and, we'll put too much resources in it, and, just do your homeowner's insurance. Oh, I know, the deductible's 3 times the value of the thing that was stolen, but,
Right.
It's like almost you got maybe you should have slipped the cop $100 or something. Say, hey, get my bike for me.
Well, it winds up boiling down to something that we've talked about a ton of times on this, and that is pride in your work.
Yeah, there's no pride.
Right. I mean, the thing is that you don't have to worry about the state making you money. The thing is, if you took a job as a police officer, you took an oath to defend, to protect, and serve, and all that different jazz. Okay, so when somebody comes to you and says, hey, my shit got stole, your job is to go find that shit.
But you know what's messed up, though? I've known actually quite a few cops in my time as somebody I would just talk to, and a lot of them, they think that the system's just as fucked up as we think it's fucked up. It's just they have to deal with it, and they get overwhelmed by all the bullshit they have to deal with.
Jobs that I worked at where the whole system was fucked up too, and I still took pride in my work, and I still enjoyed going and doing what I did, and I still wanted to do what I did. You know,
you have the union backing you up?
bureaucracy in the background. That was irrelevant to me because my job was when I walked in the door, I took care of the customer, and I made sure the customer had a good experience with me.
Right.
You know, they may have bitched the hell of me about the company I was there with, you know, and I'd say, you know what, I understand. I'm with you. I'm 100% behind you because I see it from the inside. But you know what? I'm here to fix your shit. So just treat me with some respect because I'm going to work really hard to fix your shit.
And then you have to go out there the week later because
most of
supposedly
the time I didn't go back to what I had to do. And I wasn't one of the people that had to go back on a lot of times. And because I really did. If a person was having a problem, I really stuck it out and tried as hard as I could to find it. And that's what people don't have is they don't have that motivation that when somebody sees me on the street now and knows that I was with that company and knows that was me, they're not going to come up to me and go, oh, that was that shitty guy that walked in my house and didn't do his fucking job.
Dude, that's happened to me.
You know? And that's what I'm saying. I don't want that. Like, my good name is not going to be besmirched, you know, type of thing. You know?
That's happened. I've run into people when I was working at a prominent communications company. I've run into people like, you know, actually fairly recently I ran into somebody and they recognized me and they said, they said, you know, you're one of the best people I ever had come to my house and fix something, you know? And we all work for the same company here. Okay, so
I don't want to hear somebody go, oh, you know what, that guy was a fuck up. He didn't come. He fucking fucked off in my house.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to hear that, you know. And there's some people who could just be like, oh, fuck them. I don't give a shit. I fucking did my 8 hours.
And I know several people like that.
Right. You know, and those people were the ones that was just like, oh, seriously, dude, I know I'm gonna have to go behind your ass on a regular basis and clean up your fucking mess.
And you do.
Right.
Either because they won't do something that's hard, or because they just don't understand it, or because they don't give a shit.
Right.
Yeah, I know. There were several people that I worked with that they just didn't like doing the hard things that you were supposed to do every time, like put a ladder up somewhere.
Right.
And you ended up going back and fixing the same problem, which wasn't what they fixed to begin with.
Right.
You know, and it's just
but that's what it boils down to with any field. And the cops are, you know, to me personally, if I was a firefighter, like you guys were talking about before, if I was a firefighter, there's no way in hell I could stand there and watch somebody's house burn for whatever fucked up reason it was. Yeah, I just couldn't do it out of a simple morality aspect. You know? I just like, it's just like being a cop and going, oh, you know what? Here's somebody over there stealing somebody's purse. I don't give a fuck. Yeah, I can't, that mentality is just, like, dude, why are you in that field? It's just like being a teacher and not wanting to work with kids.
But they'll be right on your ass when you're going 5 miles over the speed limit.
Right? Well, that's because it generates revenue for them, and they probably get a data boy when they get so many in.
Well, yeah.
Those fucking speed cameras.
Yeah, they've even automated that.
Like, good puppy, you brought us home another duck. Good job. You know?
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing a lot of things have boiled down to, though, and it's really sad.
Right.
You know?
All right, guys. Well, that's going to be the end of that show. So for Congress of the Working Class, I'm Mike. That's Johnny and Esworthy saying good night.
Good night.
Later.
Listen up, man, I'll tell you who I am. Just another stupid